Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Short Hops with Kevin Hooper. Short Hops is a weekly program that gives you, the fans, the opportunity to ask the Wichita Wingnuts skipper questions about the Wingnuts, baseball or sports in general, or just seek the wisdom of Kevin Hooper and see what he's got to tell you about life. This week we joined Kevin after the American Association champion Laredo Lemurs took a 4-game series away from the Sioux City's Explorers to be named as the league champions. So we get Kevin's insights on what he thought about the champions, information about what's going on in the off-season here for Wichita, and we're going to learn a little bit about what Kevin's just got planned to try to get a little break from baseball. So let's get right to Short Hops. So we want to welcome back manager Kevin Hooper. Kevin, first of all, let's just kind of talk about Laredo wins the championship. Kind of a surprise champion there. Most people kind of got in at the last moment. Most people would see them kind of a surprise, but you got to see them firsthand. So maybe you could give us a little take on how you saw Laredo.
Yeah, and we played them a bunch. We played them 17 times during the regular season, and obviously had them there in the first round of the playoffs. And congratulations to Laredo for winning the championship. And it was we went to Game 5 with them after being down 0-2. We fought back and won those first two at home, and we were up 6-2 in that last one. And then we kind of ended up giving it away. But they had a really good offensive lineup. Potent top to bottom, and then their bullpen was tremendous. Brebbia, their closer, came in that Game 5 and threw the last 4 innings and went 12 up, 12 down. So really, really tough bullpen and a really good lineup to go with it. And I figured it was going to be a good matchup between them and Sioux City. And Sioux City won the first one 10-2, and then Laredo rattled off 3 in a row. So congrats again to them. And it was another fun season for us, for sure.
I'm kind of curious by the way that guys have managed. Brebbia used almost exclusively, at least in the playoffs, for 2-3 innings at a time. Do you think that's going to kind of entice managers to look for a guy who could be a closer that could give those extra outs now, or is that just kind of an anomaly at this point?
Yeah, I think it's kind of an anomaly. I'm not real sure. I talk about my closer is typically a 1-inning guy, and there's going to be certain times where I can maybe get 2 out of him. That's using a guy who's used to throwing 1 inning a lot. To ask a guy to throw 3 or 4. But to each their own, and if the guy's willing and is capable of doing it, then why not? And he definitely did that. He threw 4 to finish out our game, and then I think it was Game 2, which was that Thursday night. He threw 3 more to finish out that game. So, in 4 days, here's a closer throwing 7 innings. But, that's he did a great job at it. That's for sure. Anytime Pete handed him the ball, and from what I'd heard from folks, he wanted the ball all the time. And when he handed it to him, he was very successful. He had a great year.
Your team came back from. You started out the season losing a majority of your starting lineup, having to kind of tinker with the lineup as the season went along. I think you were at like 55 or 56 different players played for the team, which is an amazing number. Tell me a little bit about what this was like as the manager for you this season.
Yeah, obviously a number that I don't like one bit. I like to have the camaraderie and have as many guys as we can start to finish. But there's going to be years where it happens. And it's kind of a lot of the decisions, more hard decisions to make. When it all starts out with your 3 and 4 hole guy in spring training, one, Luis Fontenez, a big leaguer, who has spent quite a bit of time in the big leagues, who's going to be your starting left fielder 5 days into camp, comes in your office and retires. And then your 4 hole, Chris Garcia, just wasn't in the shape that we wanted him to be in. So going into a season, relying on these guys to hit 3rd and 4th for you, and them not even making it out of camp was kind of the beginning of the whole process and the madness of 2015 for the Wingnuts. And so you're making some moves out of spring training. Then we had the 2 guys that left to Mexico, and we had the 5 guys that got signed throughout the year to affiliated ball. So overall, a tough year. And as I continue to say, when those guys get signed, you've got to sign a guy right away. And there's a lot of instances where that's a local guy or just a rookie who you've heard something about, and you bring him in. And I'd say 50-50, that's going to work out or it's not. It's actually a lot of times just buying you some time until you find another a more experienced type guy that's going to fit better with your ball club. So, it was a tough year transaction-wise. Obviously, I don't like going through guys. It costs money for our organization when you're bringing guys in and out so much. But, and then there were some guys that we brought in that ended up working out. So just a crazy year overall. And like I said, with that start, it was kind of a crazy start to the season.
And the part that even makes that kind of an even crazier year for you is besides the guys signed to affiliate ball, you had Richmond that left for a month to go play in the Pan Am games, and you had some guys that couldn't get into Canada. So you were, kind of crazy circumstances changing year round here for you.
Yeah, it was. It was a year we're never going to forget. I think not only because we went to 59-41 and won another division title, but how we did it and all the work that was put in to do it. With the stuff that you mentioned right there, losing Richmond to the Pan Am, which is an odd circumstance that you usually don't come across, and not being able to get quite a few guys across to Canada because of the visa situation and whatnot. So, a lot of curveballs thrown at us throughout the year, but we fought through it and battled and put ourselves in a situation to win another championship.
Let's talk a little bit about one of the most important aspects that you've talked about during the season has been the relationships you've built with managers and coaches and scouts and player personnel people throughout baseball. So do you think that this season has even more enhanced those relationships just because you've had to have so many transactions personally?
I don't think it changed it a whole lot. I just pretty much use all my normal sources that I've always used. But year in and year out, I definitely meet, whether it's a new scout or a new agent or another new manager maybe from like the Frontier League that I haven't dealt with in the past that I get to know. I try to reach out and meet as many of those guys and build a relationship with as many of those guys as I can, because you never know when you're going to meet them.
Well, you sure did a great job at figuring out who could work out for you this year. No doubt about that.
Well, I appreciate it.
Now, heading into the off season at this point, are there players that you already have that are going to be coming back to you next season that are going to be Wichita Wingnuts for next year?
Yeah. There's, it's always a process. It's never ending. You can ask my wife about that. She'll tell you it's a never ending process. And the phone's always ringing. You're always thinking about the next year. Once that last out's made, and for us it was Game 5 of the first round. Your mindset kind of changes, and starts thinking about 2016 and the guys that you want to bring back, the guys you maybe don't want to bring back, or you're going to have guys who retire. And like I said, you might have a guy retire in spring training next year who you're going to rely on. That was the first of that happening for me this past season with Louis, with Montez. So, but it happens. It's part of the game, and you can go in ecstatic about your lineup going into camp like we were. And like I said, to lose a 3-4 hole guy that you're relying on, was tough to begin the season that way. But you fight through it and you manage it, and replace them the best that you can. But no, there's definitely some guys that we're going to rely on coming back, and then you're going to have some that retire. We're going to have some that we end up trading, and then you're going to have some that you end up releasing. So a mixed review of transactions this offseason it'll be.
One of the guys that I had spoken with individually who told me that adamantly he would be back with Wichita next year was starter John Link. That his experience in affiliate ball has not been anything of what he imagined it would be like, and so he's comfortable and confident that this is the location he wants to be playing at next year. So he comes in really going to the top of your rotation. As a manager, how does it feel to know that you're going to have your ace coming back and fired up to really want to be there?
Yeah, he's one of those special occasion type guys, like a Brent Cleveland, a guy who doesn't belong in this league, but you have the luxury to have him. And he's not afraid to tell anybody what he thinks of Wichita, that's for sure. And it's very rewarding to hear him speak about it and just the time that he's had here, and how much faith he has and how much he enjoys putting the uniform on here in Wichita. And he's very comfortable here. He gets treated well here, and he loves every bit of it. Like you said, he has no interest in even going back to affiliated ball unless the right occasion came up. But No, that's a nice luxury to have heading into the off season for sure, is knowing that your ace, and especially ace like him, who's pitched in the big leagues and can pretty much dominate any game that he goes out there and pitches. To know that he's coming back and to lead that charge and to be thrown opening day and just to use that as a recruiting tool, and hopefully we get a lot of those guys that follow in his footsteps. So it'll be an exciting off season as always, and always fun building a new squad and making adjustments where need be.
At the end of last season, you traded away David Espinoza, brought in Alex Sogard, had a player to be named later. Are you the player that's going to wind up coming to the team? Is this somebody that you already have some idea about what's going on, or is this still kind of in the transaction process at this point?
Yeah, I have an idea who it's going to be. Now we just got to finalize it. So, George and I honestly haven't even spoke since the season's been over. So I'm sure that'll happen here soon, possibly even this week, where we'll put a phone call into him and we'll chat about it and probably get it done sooner than later, just so we can start making adjustments to our roster. But no, we'll see how that all pans out. And obviously I've got a great relationship with George and was able to help him out with Espinoza and getting him over there, and him doing the same with us, needing a lefty in the bullpen and us getting Sogard. So it's a good deal for both teams at the end of the season, trying to make a run.
Now, your season ended this last week on Monday. Is there any time off for Kevin Hooper, or you're just right back into the next season's mode?
Yeah, not a whole lot of time off. My mind's always thinking every day about our roster and what we want to do. I'm call me crazy, but I'm never satisfied. And, I'm always hard at work at building the Wichita Wingnuts and making it the best team possible that we can put out there. As I always say, I don't want just good players, I want good people. And, that process will begin here sooner than later. I typically take about a month away from it, though, before we really get back into doing anything. Now for this first month off, it's just kind of my mind, spinning kind of on what my thoughts are and what I'm wanting to do, who I'm wanting to bring back, maybe who I think we can get good trade value out of, stuff like that. And then, eyeballing some guys in this league maybe that I want, that I would like to put our uniform on and trying to go get some of those guys.
An interesting statement that was made to me recently was Coach Steve Johnson, who's the head football coach at Bethel University, was asked by somebody when he was excited about football season beginning. And he said when his wife would ask him a question and he responded in something that had nothing to do with what she asked, she would say to him, "Oh, it must be football time." Okay, so is there a point for you where you say, okay, I'm really excited about baseball at this point?
Yeah, that's about right. That's a good answer. My wife would probably tell you the same thing, where, like I said, the phone's going off with a text or something like that. It's honestly year-round for me. My mind doesn't get away from it a whole lot, and that's my choice. Of course, there's times you got to get away from it and just give yourself a little breather from it. But for me, that doesn't last very long. I'm always striving to build this thing the best I can build it, and I take a lot of pride in it and have fun doing it.
I just so fans really get a clear idea of this here too, is that what's different for you personally from most other managers out there is that this club is completely built by you as well. And so talk a little bit about what's the strategy that you use as you're working yourself through the off season to build that club.
Yeah, well, I usually start up the middle and pitching. Try to build this thing around pitching and defense, and try to be as strong up the middle as we can. I'm hoping. I've never had a catcher return for a second year. We've always rolled through a catcher just one a year, and I think I've got a good chance. Well, and I'm hoping Nestor gets signed. He deserves it. He deserves an opportunity at least to go to camp with somebody. But if not, I'm pretty confident that John Nestor will return and put the uniform on again, which I can't say enough good things about that guy and what he brings to the table for us. And just running the show behind the plate with the pitching staff and, just the relationships he built with the pitchers and vice versa, and those guys just trusting him and trusting throwing to him. It's a pretty special thing to see. And defensively, he's pretty special. I think he threw out 44% of base runners this year, which is unheard of. He pretty much shuts the running game down. So try to build it up the middle and get as many quality pitchers in as we can. And I think that we'll bring back a decent amount of the pitching side of things, so that's always a good thing to a club that finished pretty strong on the pitching side of things. And like you said, John Link kind of starts that whole process and will be the leader of the group.
What is the status then for guys like Nick Van Stratten or Brent Cleveland? Do they go back to Mexico, or do they have a chance to stay with you? How does that work for you?
Yeah, I don't see, especially Strat. I don't think Van Stratten will be with us. Still, I'm hoping the same thing. I think that guy deserves an opportunity in affiliated ball again. Arguably one of the best players in our league, if not the best. And I think that he deserves an opportunity to get another crack at affiliated ball. But if that doesn't work out, yeah, he'll be back in Mexico next summer, and then possibly if they didn't make the playoffs, we'd have a chance to get him at the end of the year again. Cleve, I don't know what Cleve's going to do. I know he's going to continue to play. It's just a matter of, maybe if the offers can be good enough in Mexico, and maybe if not, he loves it here in Wichita. Obviously, we have a long relationship and have for a long time now, and his wife loves it here also, and they got a little baby boy, and I know he missed his family quite a bit this summer when they weren't there with him in Mexico. So kind of see how that pans out with Cleve, but would love to have him back, no doubt about it.
And what would be the status for Matt Navarez and Anthony Capra for you as well?
Same thing. I think it's just a matter of if they want to go, hopefully, possibly have the affiliated option maybe. Who knows with that side of things, but if not, I think that both of those will probably have the opportunity to go back to Mexico.
Wow, that'd be really interesting. Now, besides all this building of your team, you're also out there still helping at Wichita State. So talk a little bit about what's going on with the women's softball team and what's kind of your status there.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun so far. We actually finished on last Monday, a week ago tonight, and kind of took Tuesday away from everything and got right back at it on Wednesday with the softball girls. So I've been at it ever since last Wednesday with them. Had alumni weekend this weekend, played a little alumni game Saturday, then we played an NAIA school kind of as our first fall exhibition on Sunday, which was a lot of fun to, just like anything else, play against somebody with a different uniform on. So the girls were ecstatic to get that going, and, I'm just there to help any way I can. I'm just excited to be back at the university that gave me so much and kind of put me in a position to be in that I am today. And, I'm going to weigh this softball thing and see how I enjoy this season. And, that might open up some more doors and possibly, who knows, maybe go to that side one day if I decide to do that, because my younger daughters are definitely involved in it. But, I'm a baseball guy thick and thin, so I'd have to love it quite a bit to get myself away from the game of baseball. So we'll just, me, I'm going to worry about practice tomorrow. We had an off day today, so I'm worried about practice tomorrow and make the most of that.
Now, if I'm understanding how, the baseball, softball season works in college, it pretty much is ending when the Independent American Association would be beginning. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. I'll probably make it all the way through the end of the regular season, but I'll miss the Missouri Valley Conference tournament, and then obviously if they made it to the postseason, to a regional or something, which would be pretty tough, obviously, being with the girls all year and then making a regional and me not being able to be there. But it is what it is, and Christy Bredbender, the head coach at Wichita State, she was adamant that, she knows that the Wingnuts put food on the table for my family, and she just wanted me to be a part of it any way I could and make the most and take advantage of having me around there, and I'm happy to do so. Like I said, just happy to be back associated with the university and happy to have somebody wanting me to be involved in it. So it'll be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to it. But once the season comes around, I'll be heading back over to the Wingnut side of things once we crank back up.
I'd like to ask, because I know that we're kind of, we're just a little bit out from the season ending here, and I really would kind of like to just get your thoughts on overall how you felt about your personal performance, your team's performance from this past season, considering all the changes that went on and everything that happened. How do you reflect upon that as an overall kind of feeling for yourself?
Obviously, we were upset with the loss of Game 5 because we put ourselves in that situation. We grinded back from being 0-2, and then you win the next two, and you just got to win one more. And, I think a lot of people tend to forget that would have been Scott Richmond's game to pitch. And unfortunately, He had to come out of that game one with an oblique injury, and anybody who's dealt with one of those or heard of one of those, that just it takes a long time to get that back right. So, it was unfortunate, but Medina came out and kept us in a ball game, and like I said, we just kind of let it slip away there at the end. But we were all pretty upset about the loss, but you're never going to see me hang my head. I didn't want any of the guys hanging their head. I was awful proud of them because we could have laid down in Game 3, being down 0-2, but we battled back and fought hard to put ourselves in that situation once again to reach the championship, which would have been 4 years in a row, which would have been pretty spectacular. But we'll continue to put ourselves in that situation in the postseason and give ourselves chances to win championships, and I'm awful proud of that. I'm very humbled and blessed to be the manager of the Wichita Wingnuts and take a lot of pride in how we do things and what we do. And this was another special year. We reached our goal, which was to make it to the postseason. And like you said, with what we dealt with and what we went through throughout the whole season, I'm pretty proud of, not only the way I handled things, but my staff and their help as well, along with every player that put the uniform on this year.
With the season ending now, do you find that you're more interested in watching Major League Baseball, or is kind of baseball you're just baseballed out at this particular time?
Yeah, well, softball's kept me pretty busy here lately, and then I get home and it's pretty much daddy time for the girls, so they keep me on my toes. I'm a big football fan. I love watching football, and that's kind of, my, I don't know if you want to say hobby or whatever, but it kind of gets me away from the game of baseball at times, just the different sport that I kind of get to enjoy getting locked into and enjoy watching. But no doubt about it, when there's a baseball game late at night and I'm laying in bed, I'm watching a baseball game. I don't care to get away from it a whole lot. That's just me. It's in my blood, and I love it and have a passion for it. Love watching it and continue to just watch and learn any way I can, from those guys that are so good at it, and just so they're good at what they do, and they're consistent at what they do. I think consistency, just like those guys in the big leagues, kind of like the word I use a lot with us this year. Once we end up getting to the postseason, win another division, consistency. I think that's a great word for us in our organization. We've been very consistent in what we've done year in and year out. And I talk about those guys in the big leagues that play up there every night. They're so consistent in what they do, and that's what makes it so fun to watch.
Are there some things that you've seen in this last week or so that give you an idea of who you think is the team to beat this year in the major leagues?
It's tough. It really is. It's fun. It's really fun to watch what the Cubs have done. And Madden, what a manager. I mean, that's with all those young guys that he has, and because it's such a grind. I was actually talking to a good friend of mine tonight who I played with in college and played some minor league ball. Just about the grind. Once you get older and you continue to age and you look back at the grind of what we did and what we put our bodies through, and those guys do it for 162 games. It's just so impressive of what they do and the facets that they do it at. But, obviously I'm a Midwest guy. I grew up a Cardinals fan, and I went to a ton of Royals games growing up. So those are two teams I'm definitely going to be pulling for. But I just love what the Cubs have done. And, to be able to have postseason baseball in Wrigley Field, that's pretty neat. And to have that as a possibility, that's something I'm hopefully looking forward to.
So could this be the year the Cubs finally break that curse, do you think?
I don't know. Yeah, I do, actually. I think that they definitely have a chance to do it. Like I always say, you get yourself in, anything can happen. And I don't care what level it is. You can get yourself into the postseason. Anything can happen from there out. It's just a matter of who gets hot, who has the confidence, and who gets rolling. Especially
when you have a really bright manager like that, too.
Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. He's just an added piece to that puzzle who happens to be the leader of the group.
What are some interesting observations you've seen in football so far this year?
Well, I'm a huge Chiefs fan, and I don't know if you watched the Thursday night game and how they lost that game, but that was a pretty sad situation. And I'm observing coaches all the time now that I am one. And 30 seconds left in the game and it's tied, and you got 80 yards to go. I wish hindsight 2020. I know they got Jamal Charles and handed him the ball, hoping he can maybe break one, but then he fumbles and they run it in. Game over. You look back and you're like, man, they could have just downed that and just took their chances in overtime, it could have been a different story. But like I said, I love football and love watching it. I missed all day yesterday because we had our little exhibition game with the NAI ball club that we played in softball. But it looks like it's going to be another intriguing year. With everything in the NFL, I think there's been some surprises of some teams, and then like the Seahawks. The Seahawks are 0-2, and who would have thought that? They go and play the Rams the first week and end up losing, and then they lose again yesterday. So I'm intrigued. It'll be another intriguing season of NFL football and college as well. And like I said, I just enjoy watching it on Saturdays and Sundays when I have time to do so. And
you're playing fantasy football this year as well?
Yes, I am. Yeah, I'm a big fantasy guy, as is George. George and I communicate a lot on fantasy roster situations, draft situations, stuff like that. So, we've learned that about each other and kind of lean on each other at times with asking some fantasy advice. So it's fun. It's just another added piece to our relationship that we have fun with.
So my last kind of question for you, Kevin, for this week is, I thought that, to be honest with you, kind of narrowing down as the season was approaching here, and my vision of what I really wanted to see happen in the postseason would be Game 5 of the championship series, that Wichita would be in there, and it would come down to the 11th inning international roll, and you would get a victory out of that. That I thought, what a great poetic justice that would be.
Yeah, no doubt. We went 0-3 on those this year, so I'm hoping that that's our final record on those things. I'm hoping that we don't have to go down that path again. But I don't know if you knew, or even the general public knows, that rule does not come in effect in the playoffs. So.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, that's good.
Which you look back and think about it, and it's just another reason. Well, why do we do it during the regular season then, if you're not going to do it in the postseason? So because every game counts, and you would think if you're going to do it during the regular season, you do it during the postseason. But like I said, I hope that that's the last we see of the international rule in the American Association. I guess I'll leave it at that.
I hope so too, because I thought that was shortening. The one game you talked about in particular was the Winnipeg game. That was 0-0.
Yeah, 0-0.
Heading into the 10th. Yeah, it's like that would have really kind of been a messed up ending. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Kevin, thank you for joining us this week, and we will see you next week.
Sounds great, Robert. Thanks as always.
We want to thank manager Kevin Hooper for joining us on Short Hops this week. If you have your own questions you'd like to ask the Wichita Wingnuts skipper, please send them to us at askkevin@minorleaguesportsreport.com. That's askkevin@minorleaguesportsreport.com. Please have your questions to us by Friday at midnight so we can give Kevin a couple of days to review them before we record our show on Monday. Short Hops will continue through the off-season heading into next year, so Kevin will have great insights for us on what's going on with the Wingnuts, have updates on what's happening with the team, and just things that are going on in his life, and we'll be discussing just aspects about sports and stuff that's happening in the world. So we look forward to seeing you each week and joining us here on Short Hops. I'm Rob Pannier, the managing editor of the Minor League Sports Report, and we'll see you next week on Short Hops.